got turned on after I put some dinner together. It was still doing the coming soon, and I was like, okay, let me check to see if there's anything I can do.
Yeah, let's see if it's working. I don't hear anything. Is it playing? Okay. I'm gonna speed this up.
Catch Gurl TauX
tonight.
every day.
Actually, I don't want to.
Here's the way.
I don't want to speed it up because I need that to be on my
come to play. Catch our vibe, don't delay.
Facebook, YouTube streams. Scrolling through your daily memes. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Gurl TauX is all about. Keeping it real, it's what we do. So tune in now and join our crew. Lights moving through the screen. Click subscribe, don't be mean. Upbeat chatter, it's our routine. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun and see what Gurl TauX is all about. Gurl TauX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Gurl TauX can be seen. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Gurl TauX is all about. Update stories, laugh and cry. It's Gurl TauX, so don't question why. It's the show that you'll need to get some more. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Gurl TauX is all about. Gurl TauX is who we are. Come hang with us on your tablet, phone, or screen. Anywhere Gurl TauX can be seen. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Gurl TauX is all about. Gurl TauX, log in now, watch our show. Likes and comments, let them flow. Every day we're on our way. Gurl TauX show is here to stay. Gurl TauX show, don't miss out. Join the fun, see what Gurl TauX is all about.
All right, let's do this. Take two. So sorry about that, but I couldn't get it to work correctly, and sometimes you just have to reset and restart. So we'll restart. The time is now 7:24. We'll call it 7:30, and we'll be done by 8:30. So I'm gonna just repeat a couple things here. So every morning, my mom doesn't get up super early, and my mom lives with us. My mom is 84. She has a heart condition, and she's legally blind. She has a sight impairment, and so she lives with us. We have a mother-in-law suite, as they generally call it, but it's my mom's suite. My mom has basically, we call it her apartment. She calls it Nana's lair. But she has her own door off of the top of the stairs. We built a door and put a door in for her, so it feels like her own little apartment. Somebody can knock on the door and be invited in. And she has 2 rooms, and she has her own deck, and she has doggy doors so that her dogs can go outside, and she has her own backyard separate. What's the matter?
I don't see it on Rumble.
Well, I see it on Rumble, so it's working this time. On Gurl TauX, at least it shows that it's running. If you are watching, can you just let me know if it's actually on Rumble, if it's live on Rumble, and if it's on Gurl TauX channel or if it's on Cheers to Wine channel? Because I don't want it on Cheers to Wine. I'm not trying to I didn't want to build a whole new one, but I had Cheers to Wine as when I started Rumble years ago. I think 3 years ago. But I didn't want it to be on Cheers to Wine, and they won't let you change your name. So I could add a channel, which I did, or I could start over, and I didn't want to start over. So I just added Cheers Gurl TauX on Cheers to Wine. So it screwed up and it made it on the other one because it is a little bit of a hassle to get it on there if you're not streaming directly from Rumble, which I'm not. I may start streaming only to Rumble. I have been thinking about this quite a bit because of the fact that I may air just a few minutes of this and then say, if you want to see the rest of this, go to Rumble, to Gurl TauX, because I do know that as a conservative and a Trump supporter, MAGA person, that YouTube does throttle all my stuff. I'm brand new. I'm on this. I'm not new to this, but I am brand new to this streaming channel because I lost all the other ones before because apparently I was too controversial. I don't know. But that was back when I had MAGA One Radio and MAGA Network, and Twitter banned us, and we had 16 shows that I was producing on there. So, and we were moving up, but then we got banned. So literally I do see a difference because I'm brand new. I'm a new channel, and on Rumble, I may have been there for 3 years, but I'm just now finally putting content on, and just in a matter of a day or two, hundreds of views, whereas I can go to YouTube and there's 4, and it's definitely being stifled back, and I would like it to grow, and it's obviously not going to grow on YouTube. So we will see whether or not we air just a little bit and do like Steven Crowder did when he started on Rumble. He would do like 30 minutes on YouTube, and then he'd be like, fuck YouTube, I'm going to Rumble. If you want to follow me there, go over to Rumble, and then you can continue to watch the rest of the show. So I may do that. I may do 10, 15 minutes on YouTube and then go over to Rumble. But we will see. We will see how that plays out. But anyway, my mom lives with us. She's 84, and she's not an early bird riser. She tends to be a late owl. So she is up quite often late at night, and I will hear her up there. What's that noise? Yep, it's Mom still up. So I'm flipping cameras because I can. But anyway, so I go up there in the mornings and sometime early afternoon, and I bring Mom breakfast, and I sit down with her, and it's really interesting. I did do a show, you can find it a while back, and I'll probably bring her back on, but it was when there was a lot of the controversy about Biden and his cognitive abilities and stuff. And I did a show with my mom, and my mom was more cognitive than he was by far. At least she could carry on a conversation, have a conversation with you. So, but she too was like, he's too old. He doesn't need to be there. We need people that have the ability to function. I know Donald Trump is up there in age as well. And some people say, well, don't compare because look at how he is compared to the other. I do think there should be age limits for those reasons, but and it doesn't mean everybody ends up on the same spectrum at the same time, but it does happen. And if they're already in office, we've seen it now with Biden that they did nothing about it. So it makes me uneasy with future presidents. So I really think we need to get an age limit, as well as we have age limit for minimum age, but we need to have a maximum age as well. In my opinion, that's my opinion. But anyway, I go up and I have brunch with my mom, and I usually bring us both something to eat, and I sit down with her and I talk with her, and she says, okay. And we have come up with this way that she does it. It's kind of funny. It's like when you call out to Google to tell you something, or Siri for Apple people, or Alexa for those that have Alexa. And she goes, Tori, tell me the news of the day. And then I sit down and I tell her what's going on for the news of the day. And she said the reason why she liked hearing it from me and that she likes this show and that she thinks other people will as well is because I'm not one of those famous top, people out there. I'm a real person. I'm a real voter. I'm a real person. I live in a house. I have a studio in my house. I don't have a staff. I don't have a bunch of people fetching me information. I'm researching it on my own. I'm finding this information. And she said, for the people that want to see what a real person, and I don't mean that those people aren't real, they are real people, but they have staff, they have people that are doing the research for them most of the time. Some of it they do themselves. I know Megan says that I found this myself, and she will do things herself, but then she often says, "Oh, I want this, go find it for me." So she was talking about the fact that I am a more relatable person in the aspect of not being some well-known named person. You can say my name out there and most people aren't going to know who you're talking about, and that makes it honestly a little bit more relatable. And I kind of agree with her. I also go like, I don't know if that's as accurate as I would like it to be, but that's okay. I would like to be more known, but that's just because we are all doing this because we want to give information out to people, but also because I am a talker. I like to talk. My background is I used to do a lot of public speaking on domestic violence. I'm a former law enforcement officer, and I was in the military, and I worked in EMS. I just say that I was my own village people because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And then I went to college and I became a journalist, and I got my degree in journalism, and I was a professional journalist for a number of years, and I did quite well. I won several awards as a journalist. So that is also a part of my history. And I stepped away from journalism when I saw the writing on the wall with so many problems and so many things happening. Maybe I should have stayed in it, because then maybe I would have been able to be a part of the solution, not just stepped away from it. So, in some of those aspects, I do realize that I might have made a mistake by stepping away, that I should have stuck it out, maybe, so to speak. Um, but I didn't. I did what a lot of other journalists did. I stepped away, and I decided that I did not want to continue. So I did something else, and then now I am back here to voice out what my opinions are, and share it with the other people out there that might feel the same way as I do. And I'm getting so tired of hearing all mm, the mainstream or legacy media that tells us what we're supposed to think and what we're supposed to be. It's really frustrating because I don't think we're supposed to feel a specific way. I think we're supposed to evaluate and um, and disseminate the information that we're given, um, and decide for ourselves. But the media seems to want to tell us what to think. Democrats don't want. It's not that they don't want the wasteful spending to be resolved. They don't want it resolved by their opposition. And they talk about an insurrection, and they talk about January 6th, and they talk about how Trump wouldn't accept the election. They're not accepting the election. They're trying every way they possibly can to thwart it once again. And I think that that is a real major problem that we can't continue to have. So, anyway, what I am talking about today is cancel culture and woke culture, or wokeism, if you will, and whether or not it is over, if it's finished, um, if we still have it, and that we need to realize that it's still a part of, what we're doing. I don't know. I really don't know if it's over. I think it's on life support. That's my opinion. I think it is completely on life support, and I don't know that we're going to be able to revive it. I think the left is going to keep it on life support as long as they possibly can keep it on life support. And I think that's a shame. It's really a shame that they want to continue this problem that we have. And I don't want to continue it. I don't want woke culture and cancel culture to continue, because, like you and I, we've all done things. We've all said things in the past that we regret, or we wish we had never said, we wish we had never done. And we don't want to be held on a standard of what I did when I was 20. Like, I was an idiot when I was 20. Like, I was doing stupid stuff like everyone else out there. We've all done stupid things. I don't want to be held accountable for what I did when I was 20, because it is totally different than what I am doing today and how I feel today. And the responses that I have today are not the same as they were when I was 20. I would not ever say half of the stuff that I said when I was 20. Like, would you say all the stuff that you said when you were 20? No, I don't think so. So, I think that we need to think about what is important and what it has caused the woke culture to take over. When did it start? Do we even know when it started? I think it started when we were being all PC and everybody wins, and we can't tell anybody that they're doing anything wrong or they're doing anything bad, and we can't spank our kids. And I think that's when it all actually started. That's my opinion. I think that's when it started. And I think that we have a lot to overcome for the last 20 some years, that we put this woke culture-ism into our society. I mean, even, and I try to be fair with who I share and who I talk about. But let's listen real quick to what Obama had to say.
This idea of purity, and you're never compromised, and you're always
Here, let's.
this idea of purity, and you're never compromised, and you're always politically woke and all that stuff. You should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities.
Yep.
People who do really good stuff have flaws. People who you are fighting may love their kids, and share certain things with you. And I think that one danger I see among young people, particularly on college campuses, Malia and I talk about this. Yara goes to school with my daughter. But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And that's enough. Like, if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or used the wrong verb, or then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself, because, man, you see how woke I was? I called you out. I'm going to get on TV. Watch.
Isn't that true? That's so true about people. That's the virtue signaling aspect of it. So many people think that they have the ability to call someone else out and we used to say in the old days, don't throw stones when you live in a glass house. Be careful about what you say because it can come back at you and we have that do as I say, not as I do. And this virtue signaling is a part of that woke culture. I'm going to point you out in your flaws and your mistakes, but I don't personally have any. I'm perfect. Look at me because look, I just called that guy out because he was doing something. And it's where I think the starting of the breakdown of woke culture was when the Karens became too much. When the Karens started putting themselves into situations that they had no business being in, they're asserting themselves. And it took away from those of us like myself who will stand up for something. I told the story the other day about the grocery store. So my standing up for other things is not me being a Karen, it's me standing up for myself. If it's affecting me, I have the right to stand up for it. It doesn't mean I have to be an asshole about it, and I can be an asshole if I need to. I can certainly be that person if I need to. Like that guy at the grocery store, I just kept putting his shit back in his cart. You want to do that? I can do this all day long. Like it's not going to affect me. I mean, I was at a Walmart one time and I saw this young couple come out of the store and they got in their car and I was getting in my car at the same time. And I observed the fact that they had a infant child, not in a car seat. Okay. Was I interjecting myself now? At the time, I probably was being a little bit of a Karen, but I pulled up behind them and I wouldn't let them back out of the spot. And the guy got out and he got a little upset and he's like, "Why are you blocking me?" I said, "Your child is not in a car seat. Like that's really important that your child is in a car seat. Why is your child not in a car seat?" And he said, "I'm really sorry." And he got kind of snotty at first, but he's like, "I'm really sorry if it bothers you, but you need to move because I need to get out." And I said, "Well, I'm not moving because your child should be in a car seat." And he said, "Well, I don't have a car seat. I can't afford a car seat. So I don't have one. So my child's not going to be on one. Get out of my effing way." And I said, "How about this? I'll go in and buy you one." And so yeah, I was a Karen in an aspect. I was concerned about that child, but instead of just being virtue signaling, "I don't care, you're not going anywhere, I'm going to call law enforcement on you and get you in trouble," what I did instead is I went into the store and I mean he was with his wife and they had the little baby and they had a stroller, but they did not have a stroller that has the car seat that comes separate. So he got her back out of the car. I parked. We went into the store together and I didn't just buy them a car seat. I bought them the car seat that's on a stroller. So they had a new stroller because their stroller was one of those little tiny little tyke ones that like little girls want with their little baby dolls. And I got a stroller with a car seat on it. And they both hugged me and thanked me for caring enough. But instead of continuing with the Karen aspect of it, I did the caring aspect of it. And you can be caring about something and point it out, but unless you have a solution or you have a way to fix the problem, I think sometimes you should keep your mouth shut. If you were just going to be a Karen and maybe even call law enforcement and turn them in for that, then that might be just being a Karen in general. So we're going to let him finish real quick. I don't want to go too long on each one of these.
Watch Grownish. That's not activism. That's not bringing about change. If all you're doing is casting stones, you're probably not going to get that far. That's easy to do.
I really would love to see him watch that video when right before he told everybody who they should vote for. Maybe he should have reviewed that one more time, or somebody should have brought that up to him and said, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't probably go tell everybody what they should or should not do, because do you remember this?" And I would have loved to have seen what he would have thought if he remembered that part of it. But I mean, it is what it is, and the change has not completely come about, and we are going to take some time before
cancel culture.
Okay, let's play this one. It's going to take some time before we get through this, before it's completely gone. Like I said, I think it's on life support. And I think that, is it dead or is it on life support? I think it's on life support. I think the liberals are really trying to keep it alive. They're like, I'm not ready to pull the plug yet, because they feel like it is helping them. And that the reason why I'm playing some of these other people is because of certain aspects of it. So let's listen to what is said here.
Cancel culture. Yeah, that shit's been around for a long time, and I think it's finally starting to slow down. Well, maybe. Now, cancel culture has been around since the internet got more soft, and yeah, there's some people on the internet, such as blue hair girls, who are charming, ultra soft. It is insane. Like, some things that people were getting canceled for, how do you even let that get to you? Now, cancel culture started up in the early 2010s, and I noticed it really grow during quarantine. I wonder why. Maybe it's because people had nothing better to do than cancel people. I'm sure there was a record screen time for Twitter in a day at that point in time. And well, actually, it is X.com. Shut the fuck. Nobody is calling it X.com. Now, I don't think cancel culture is dead per se, but it's still going to be around. Cancel culture is going to be there forever. So many people are so...
But there still is a lot of banning people and thinking that you have the right to try to ban
so many people are so fucking so
and
time.
And well, actually, it is where you think they should be. I mean, again, like he said, nobody's calling it X. I call it X. I stole it from Ty Rivera. And he says X, formerly the artist known as Twitter. But yeah, it's very difficult for us to go back to listening to it being called X versus Twitter. Like, everybody still says they sent a tweet. But that's not cancel culture. That's change of culture or change of some branding. And branding does change, and I think X will eventually be X, but I wish he would have named it something better than that. I think a lot of people think that. I think it was a ridiculous name. He should have just kept it Twitter. I don't know if that was part of the negotiation thing. You can't keep the name Twitter. But at the same time, like, people aren't going to necessarily go along with that. You go to IHOP, when they tried to change it to the International House of Burgers, IHOB, and it totally tanked. It failed miserably because absolutely nobody was going to call it IHOB. And so X makes it difficult because you can say I'm on X, I'm going to X, but what is your message? You're Xing. Tweeting was a much better name for it, but it's not always going to be exactly what we think things are going to be.
Shut the fuck. Nobody is calling it X.com. Now, I don't think cancel culture is dead per se, but it's still gonna be around. Cancel culture is gonna be there forever. So many people are so fucking soft, they can't take Aunt Jemima being on a syrup bottle. Now we got Pearl Milling Company. Really? And the reason as to
Well, and I think when we see some of that, we see that it is coming back because they are putting Aunt Jemima back on it. What I had a problem with some of this woke culturism is they didn't take into account the people that it was affecting, the people it actually affected. Like Aunt Jemima, when she was when it was started by this woman and her family, and she was one of the wealthiest Black women in the country, and the it was I saw it as an honor to her that she was on the bottle. I didn't see it as, oh, something negative. I didn't even see it as something racist. So someone else decided, and to be frankly honest, the racist side of it is what prevailed because a bunch of old white men in a room decided, ooh, that's racist. So we're going to take that off. And when we take that off, we're also not going to give her royalties to her family anymore. And we're going to keep all the money. And when their money went down the drain, they had to do a re-step and walk it back a little bit, and that is what happened. So it's supposedly coming back. We'll see if it actually comes back or not.
Why you are reading this title today is because people are saying that edgy humor is making a comeback. And now I kind of agree to an extent. Like I said before, on certain communities like Twitter, among the K-pop stans and the dreams.
Now, I see there are more of the comedians that are taking a stand against it, and they are wanting to be revived again, and that they want to not be stifled anymore like they used to be stifled. So many things have been taken over our schools, our entertainment, our laws are even becoming woke, where we're allowing certain things, and the wokeness is what caused where we no longer looked at logic. We were no longer looking at anything logical. When it comes to the military, people think that this new stance of the military saying that transgenders can't be in the military, and that the court is now jumping in to say, you can't do that. You can't do that. They have a right to be in there. Well, there are certain things that you cannot be in the military. Like I would love to go back in the military. I'm 54. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm broken. I can't do any of the physical stuff when I was in the army. But why can't I go back in the army? Like if there's no need for it to be battle ready, why don't I need to be in there? Oh, and they're going to say, oh, well, they can still do the age and the other requirements. Why should there be any requirements? If I want to serve, I should be allowed to serve. No, the reason that they have requirements in there is because of readiness, because your first duty is to be a soldier, to be able and available and willing and physically able to fight in a battle. And there are certain stipulations that you can, if you have certain medical conditions, you can't be in the military. My daughter has type 1 diabetes. She wanted to be a Marine. She could not go in the Marine Corps because she has type 1 diabetes. And my bonus daughter, by the way. And so she could not be in the Marine Corps because of her type 1 diabetes. Why? She should be allowed to. She's young. She's fit. She's not fat. She's not old. She should be allowed to be in there. I mean, so what? Oh, it's because she has insulin that she has to take. And if she's in a battle situation, and she doesn't have insulin, she could now become a problem because she doesn't have her insulin, and she could have a diabetic emergency. Well, so people that are transgender take specific hormones that they have to take. And it is a factor that if they are without their medication for a certain period of time, they can become volatile. So that makes them a hazard, a problem. And, when I was in, I would have told you, I would have loved to have got a boob job paid for by the army, but I wasn't able to do that because you don't get to go have a boob job to make yourself feel better about yourself. But they're supposed to be able to go and have a sex change operation because it makes them feel better about themselves. I'm sorry, but that's a problem. Just had to say that. That's a problem. There are other conditions that you can't have. And if you have a mental condition, you can't be in the military. That is a mental condition. So we're making caveats for something just because of wokeism. That's what I personally think. That's the reason why we're doing it, is because we don't want to be honest that it is not something that we should be doing. Let's listen to the wonderful, I'll probably get, at least on YouTube, I'll probably get copyrighted.
A different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use...
Now we all feel that same way. We all should point out injustice, actual injustice, but not made up injustice. That's the difference, is we get to a point where it's just made up injustice. It's not real stuff out there. So we have to be realistic that, we can't make stuff up, and words do migrate, and it has not been co-opted by the right. What the right has done is the right has pointed it out. We've pointed out what is wrong with it, not taken it from them. So that would be co-opted, as if we took it from them, which we have not done.
Any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
Okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a joke. But,
Too dark. Too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that, because I think you're almost a free speech absolutist. You believe totally in the right to say what you believe, but I think a lot of us were disturbed to see terrorist flags being waved on American college campuses, and seeing this a generation that some I think genuinely care about the plight of the Palestinians. I think most Americans do, but some who seem to be embracing a terrorist organization over the nation of Israel. What do you make of this moment? What do you think it's a result of? How do we fix it?
Well, I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys.
See, that is the biggest problem, is that we have a culture of people who are telling us what we have to think and what we have to believe. So much so to the point that we can take things like woke culture and make it so disturbing that it is now part of we now have to stand up for Hamas, or we now have to stand up for Palestine. no, it is opening the door for terrorists, and it's opening the door for some really, really bad behavior and some really bad things to happen. And woke culture got to the point that we even heard certain things about, well, we have to accept the diversity, and we don't have a choice anymore except to accept what wokeism is. We have to embrace it. We have to accept it. And there's a problem with that. It is definitely complex, but at the same time it's not. It's pretty easy to understand what it really is and why it's dangerous.
Cancel culture, I think, is complex. I mean, it's complex because humans are complex, and that's something we like to negate online. We should not undermine how quickly people can change their ideas. I know online it seems that people don't change their ideas because they are encouraged not to, but our ideas can change quite quickly. And so to cancel people for tweets that they made years ago, potentially even things that they said last week, I think it's just to lie to yourself. It lacks a certain self-examination that I think is crucial. If everybody was to act as though they've never said something homophobic, especially if you've ever grown up in a strongly religious family, I think you could be telling porkies. We talk so much about mental health and how important it is and how we have to remember that mental health is just as important as physical health, and then to discard people at the first sign of something we dislike. The two don't marry very well to me. We undermine how easy it is for us to become the people that we dislike. With a different circumstance, a different upbringing, a different culture, how I could easily become a lot of the things that I dislike or find harmful. And it's because of my own propensity to become those things. I'm hesitant about labeling things evil. I'm hesitant not because I don't think people can be ill-intended. I think that would be naive. But I'm much more interested in the root causes as opposed to the symptoms.
That is absolutely so true. We have to look at what the core is of it. And when we get to that woke culture and cancel culture, I mean, I have an agreement with some of the canceling somebody if they today say something that is so outlandish. You know, I remember when they canceled what was her name? The chef lady. I can't remember her name. But when they canceled her because she had supposedly said the N-word, and it was over a decade before, I think she's grown by now. I think is she using that now? Is she saying that now? And you also have to look at what the culture was at the time that something might have been said. I'm not saying that word has been actually acceptable and usable since the 60s, 70s, 80s, for sure. But the 60s and 70s, it started dying down and it became a negative and it became something that wasn't acceptable by people. So now we have to look at the fact that there is a time for change also. We have to realize that there is a time where we don't need to have, I don't know why that's doing that. Sorry. There is a time that we need to embrace, our feelings on certain things. But we can't let that control what we're doing and how we're performing, how we're acting. We have to be in control of our own thoughts and our own words and our own actions. And someone else doesn't need to be in control of those actions for us. Let's see what it's done to entertainment in itself.
That's not an attack to just stop the Oscars. That's an attack to end me.
But the past is relevant with you with underage girls.
Absolutely no, it's not.
Fair. I think we can always hold our
I'm sorry. You're also putting a hierarchy over who can be offended. Now I'm offended.
The story that was being told about me won, even though it wasn't true.
That's not activism. That's not bringing about change.
This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
Someone somewhere in the world will find what you say offensive. So what? Who cares? Someone tweets a little joke that's misunderstood and their life is ruined and they get fired from their job. That's awful.
Now we have to think about where did it originate, and what caused this to become so strong, and how did we get to a point where we felt it was okay to cancel someone because of a joke, because of a behavior, because of something they said or something they did? When did we find that was okay to do? And by part of that, I think if you watch, Candace Owens is discussing right now, and it's not about actions. If there are actually actions that somebody needs to have tried in a court of law, let the courts do that. Let a district attorney go after them, let them get charges made for them, and then let them try it. I'm not necessarily against civil suits being more public, but I think when it comes to criminal law, I think that there is a bias, and there does become a stance when it is tried by the public before it's actually tried in court. And I think we have to think about that stuff and what it does to somebody. Candace Owens is doing a deep dive right now on the Weinstein case, and I don't necessarily disagree with her. I mean, I had a problem with the Me Too movement from the beginning because so many of the people that were coming out already became famous. So now they're like, oh, well, now I'm going to say something. Well, why didn't you say something when it happened? Why didn't you say something when it first started? Why did it get so out of control that the joke of the day was the casting couch? Why did that stuff happen in the first place? And then there are many a woman, and they have a nickname. They're called fame fuckers. If you've never heard of that, that is what they're called. And they are women who go after, and they will F their way to fame. They try to get famous, and they will leech on to someone else famous in hopes of doing so. There's also people who have been R-worded, and they go to the law, and they want them taken care of because they were R-worded, and it turns out she was a liar. Not all of them are telling the truth, and I never stood by believe all women, because women will lie. Just like men will lie, women will lie as well. So we have to try them in a court of law based on what the actual law is. And when people are getting tried by the court of popular opinion versus actual court and following what the law is. And in today's society, I have a very, very, very difficult time, unless they are sequestering jurors. I have a very difficult time believing in any way, shape, or form that they are not following what is happening in society, that they are not following what is going on Twitter, or X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, what's going on YouTube, because everybody's talking about these things as they're happening. So I do not believe in any way, shape, or form, unless they are fully sequestered, phones in a lockbox and they are in a hotel room being guarded, no televisions in the room, the whole shebang, I don't believe that they are not watching what's happening and what the public is thinking, because then they go in and they vote based on what the public believes, what the public wants them to do. And that it becomes a difference between what you need and what you want. They know what needs to happen is they need to follow the law and they need to try this person and they need to find them guilty beyond a reasonable doubt based on the facts of the information. But they know what the public wants is that person to be guilty. So no matter what the evidence now shows, they want to make the public happy, because what also is happening in the public, we are publicly seeing that if they don't like what you're doing, they will hunt you down and they will take you out because you didn't give them what they wanted versus what they needed. And look at what's happening with the Teslas. Look at what's happening with people that are driving Teslas. Look what's happening at the dealerships. No, Elon Musk is not at any of those dealerships right now, but they're going after the people that are driving those cars because they are not getting what they want. What they want is for Elon to walk away and say, I will not be a part of Doge anymore. But to be honest with you, he could announce that at this point, and it's a little bit too late for that. That's my opinion on that part of it.
What's so bad about it?
A young boy, R. Kelly, is accused of abusing
anti-Kelly rallies outside of Sony Music headquarters in New York.
Comedian and actor Kevin Hart is stepping down from his duties.
I have made the choice to step down from hosting this year's Oscars.
Been apologize for your tweets of old. We're going to have to move on and find another host.
This is not me. I'm fighting for my life.
There are two cases I want to bring up. Let's take a look at the timeline of R. Kelly's demise. In 1994, he married Aaliyah. The catch? He was 27 and Aaliyah was 15 years old, but faked being 18 on the wedding certificate. In 2002, he had 2 other court cases which involved illegal acts with minors, and the cases were settled with R. Kelly paying a lot of money to cover them up.
Now, in those circumstances, R. Kelly, it has a little bit of a different story. He has some guilt aspects of it, but I remember there was an artist. Who was it? Let me look it up real quick. We'll just play this again for a couple more seconds, and then I'll look that up while we're playing this. Okay. That way I can look that up real quick while this is playing.
In the same year, he was charged with 13 counts of producing illegal child videos, although there wasn't enough evidence to find him guilty. Gloria Allred, the lawyer who represented several of his victims, explained that of all the predators I have pursued, R. Kelly is the worst. Finally, in 2018, R. Kelly was canceled. #mute R. Kelly. Now, let's take a look at the second case.
How you doing, Kev? How are you, big dog?
What's up, fam?
All right, Kev, you're the man.
In July of 2009, Kevin Hart sent out a series of tweets regarding homosexuality. Fast forward to almost 10 years later, on December of 2018, Kevin Hart was announced as the Oscars host. Within hours, Twitter users began reposting Kevin's old tweets and jokes saying that he never apologized for them, therefore should not be allowed to host the Oscars. Articles upon articles were being formed about Kevin being homophobic and unwilling to apologize for it.
And I don't necessarily disagree with what he said. He said he shouldn't have to apologize after a decade of jokes, and people also have to realize jokes are just jokes. I mean, I go to watch a comedy show, and I do believe very much in when a comedy show is that quite often they can be offensive. I went to a Matt Rife comedy show not that long ago. It was quite funny. Absolutely quite funny. He was quite offensive. Quite offensive. Kind of anti, I wouldn't say anti, but he was like kind of misogynistic in a sense, but I found it funny. I found him funny. I found a little bit, some of the sexual content was a little bit more than I would have liked, but and yes, there was some offensiveness, but I didn't give a shit. Like, it's just part of the shtick, you know, they are comics. And if you don't like offensiveness, I don't know, don't go to a comedy show. That would be the first place to go. Now, as I was saying earlier, that there was a musician back in the day that let's see if my camera goes on. There was a musician back in the day that he actually was not only did he have relations with someone that was a minor, he also did not get canceled over it. So the rock and roll musician Jerry Lee Lewis married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown, in 1957, a marriage that did cause scandal and negatively impacted his career. However, he was not charged with anything, and he was not put in any kind of scandal like this. Like, the scandal was scandalous, but he continued to play. He continued to perform. He was not canceled from anywhere. And I mean, and this wasn't just his it wasn't just a 13-year-old girl. It was his 13-year-old cousin. So I thought that made it even worse, in my opinion. But Kevin Hart, I thought that was despicable, in my opinion. I thought that there was no reason to have canceled him.
And on that note, Kevin Hart stepped down from hosting the Oscars and proceeded to apologize. And apologize.
I had to address it when I did Get Hard promo with Will Ferrell because of my joke that I had about my son.
And apologize.
I had to address those tweets in 2012.
And apologize.
I haven't apologized for your tweets of old. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. It's onion, so no matter how many times you keep peeling it, there is no end to it. I apologize again. I said I apologized before.
Did Kevin Hart deserve that backlash just as much as R. Kelly did? One problem with cancel culture is that it cannot be monitored. In a criminal justice system, the aim is to judge a crime fairly and create a punishment that matches the crime.
That's exactly what I was saying before, is we can't just try in public when somebody does something. You know, when you get to the woke culture and you get to cancel culture, so many people have stopped sharing their own points of view because they're afraid of being canceled. So they're not honest and truthful about what bothers them and speaking out about things that are bothersome because they don't want to be canceled. And you have to think about those parts of it. Is you need to be able to speak out. You need to be able to have a voice, and you shouldn't be afraid to be canceled because of having your opinion or your voice and speaking up. But also, you shouldn't be going after people for personally things in the very past. But unless it just happened, I think it's called the past for a reason. Doesn't mean we ignore it or we repeat it, but you don't have to go after people for something that happened in the past. That's just my thoughts on that one.
A family can be made up in many different ways.
It's called SOGI, for Sexual Orientation and Gender Identification, a curriculum that teaches public school students across Canada to celebrate the homosexual lifestyle and that gender is fluid. In other words, your gender is not dependent on what parts you were born with, but rather what you feel like. in the moment.
There's people that are boys, there's people that are girls. There are people whose gender might be a little bit of both or might even be neither.
Lessons include books about transgender children, such as 10,000 Dresses, and songs like the Rainbow Song.
I mean, you think about that part of it. If more people had stood up when this first started happening, would we maybe not have had such a bad aspect of this infestation of, and I see it as an infestation of the deviant side of people jumping into this train because they have nefarious they do have nefarious desires that, and they see this as a cloak, so to speak. They can put it over them and they can do some of their bad behavior, and it's kind of acceptable to do some of these poor behaviors based on the fact that they are going to be judged by their action, not judged by their actions, but judged by, oh, well, we can't say anything because this person identifies as this. Well, when does that stop us from looking at what are their motives? What are they doing this for?
I just thought, who decided that this was okay to teach our children?
Author and inspirational speaker Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson is a leading voice against the SOGI curriculum.
And we are seeing the results of that now, because some kids are reacting very emotionally and saying, and they're in fear. Will I suddenly struggle with feeling like a different gender inside of my body?
Carrie Simpson of Culture Guard, another leading
I know that I have talked about this in the past, that I was such a tomboy when I was younger, like such a tomboy. And then when I was in the military, I was such a tomboy-ish girl that, had I been growing up in today's culture, in this wokeism and this identity crisis that we have going on, I think there could have been teachers that would have been trying to convince me that I was a boy. Because I was very tomboy. I'm a year and a half younger than my brother, but I was his ally. I was his defender. I would beat up boys that teased my brother. And I didn't care how big they were. I didn't care how strong they might have been. I would have jumped up and sucker punched somebody for picking on my brother. And I wanted to ride motorcycles and big trucks and all the boy things. I played cops and robbers and cowboys and Indians and all that stuff with the boys. I wanted to play with the boys. So today, would I have been convinced by a teacher or a groomer that I was not a girl? So I worry about that because I know what I struggled with, and I didn't struggle with my identity. I knew I was a girl. I was okay with being a tomboy. And that's what we call girls that were a little tougher. And I would have been fine with it if I became a lesbian. I would have been no big deal, in my opinion. I just didn't preclude that way. And that is because I was really a girl. I went through normal puberty. And I was a flat-chested girl all the way up until I had children, so I didn't have a lot of those things. And I remember even being like in the locker room when I was a young girl, and I'd see these other girls with boobs and they were developing, and I didn't have them. Like mine weren't developing like that. And I was like, wow. So today, would I be looking at them going, oh, I'm looking at their boobs. I wonder, I must be gay. And there is a difference between talking about it in the manner in which, at least that I'm trying to talk about it, that it would have been fine if I were, but I shouldn't be in, and our kids shouldn't be in any position where this woke culturism is also using it as grooming. And that's what I see here with some of this.
Opponent calls the curriculum nothing short of child abuse.
All those beautiful qualities that make young girls, beautiful girls and women, are being basically vilified. The things that make our boys boys are being, taken from them. So things of equating young men to being strong protectors is something that's now evil.
But Morgan Auger, a transsexual and supporter, claims it's about acceptance, not indoctrination.
The idea is to teach kids that there are gay kids and there are trans kids and there are trans parents and gay parents in our society, and everybody's wanted and desired. After all, that's what our Human Rights Code says.
Except for the fact that I personally don't believe there's any trans kids. I think when you get to, you might have some of that in your, you might feel some of that in a little bit of a way, but the reality is, until you become an adult, I don't really personally think that you understand and you have the ability to think that way. So that's partly my opinion on that.
Sure, from a heteronormative society into one where anything goes, no boundaries, no values, no morals. It's a hedonistic cult, basically, what they're implying.
Another blaring example, drag queen story time. It's happening in Canada and America, where some public schools and libraries invite drag queens, some dressed like horned demons, to read to young children.
And it's a social deconstructionist agenda. They're using children, little 5-year-olds, to accomplish this. And parents are waking up and saying no.
When asked about parents' rights, Auger says,
Well, actually, in Canada, parents' rights are limited and children's rights are put ahead. So the child has the right to be protected from the parents when the parents behave badly.
Canada is known as one of the most gay-friendly countries in the world, with many of their largest cities featuring their own.
All I can say is when their parents behave badly. What you mean when the parents don't conform to this woke culturism of saying that it's perfectly acceptable for drag queens to read to children, when it's perfectly acceptable for, I will not even say his name because I don't like to give him any clout, but when he says, come to my Patreon and we can talk privately. And if you need to disconnect from your family, you have me to talk to. I'm sorry, that's called grooming. I don't care. It's called grooming. It's disgusting and it should be stopped. And that is part of why I think that woke culture is on the downside, and woke culture is not going to survive life support. Woke culture is part of the problem that we have, where people are realizing that we have succumbed to this way too much and that we should not be allowing for this wokeism to take over and continue to take over what we know is not acceptable, and we should not be using that anymore. I am going to real quickly, I am going to play a song here. I don't know that that one is it. Hold on while I, that is not it. It must be on. I think this is, this is the one. So give me 1 second while I pull this up here for you. And I will share this with everybody. But the reality is we have so many people that are are realizing that if we continue with this, that we are going to have a problem, and we're going to make the problem worse and worse and worse if we don't put a stop to it now. We have to put a stop to it. It has to be fixed. We can't continue with it. And we saw it come during the fires in California when the let me see, my phone is connected or not connected. But we saw what happened with the fire chief in California when they were saying that everybody in California when everybody wants to have. Let me see, my phone is connected or not connected. I hear my phone. Sorry. Sound is off. Okay, now sound is off. Sorry about that. One of the questions here or statements here is it gave them a door to give their access and don't make a permanent change for a potentially temporary situation. Absolutely. But we've had a issue with like when you went to the chief of the fire department, the assistant chief or whatever, and she was saying that it's okay because we have the right to she didn't say right. We need to have people on the department that when someone comes to your house, that you have people that look like you. And that is absolutely not true. Nobody wants to have a person that looks like them on their door. I know that I have never in my life have I ever thought, I would love it if somebody were to come to my house and look like me. I don't want that. I don't want a fat, out of shape person to look like me. Absolutely not. I don't want that. I want somebody who knows how to do their job. I want somebody who has the skills. I want water. Thank you for calling Woke 911. What is your emergency?
Yes, have somebody who tried to break into my house.
Do you know what their identity is? Like, how do they identify? What is their gender? What's their pronouns?
I don't know. I don't care. They tried to break into my house. They shouldn't be here.
Well, first of all, what are your pronouns so I can speak to you correctly?
My pronouns.
Yeah. Do you?
My pronouns are help.
Your pronouns are get help. Okay. I don't know that that's a proper pronoun, sir. I think you're.
I don't care about pronouns. I want somebody to get over here. Here because I want somebody to break into my house. I want somebody over here to find this person.
Well, what is your race so I can make sure to send somebody that actually looks like you? What's your build? Are you?
It doesn't matter.
Are you tall?
Just get some help over here. I don't care. I don't care who you send. Just send somebody over here now. What does this have to do with anything?
Are you a he?
This has nothing. This has nothing to do with. Just get some help over here. What is your problem?
Well, you called Woke 911, so I cannot dispatch anybody from Woke 911 until we know what your gender is and how you identify and what your proclivities are, so that I can send somebody that looks like you to your house. You want somebody that looks like you to
Is
come,
it woke?
correct?
It isn't woke 911. It's joke 911. That's ridiculous.
You don't want someone.
That's ridiculous.
You want somebody that looks like you to show up at your house, don't you?
I don't care what they look like. I just want somebody to show up that can do the job.
Well, okay. So can you just answer me a couple real quick questions so that I can dispatch somebody right away? Okay. You need law enforcement because you have somebody breaking in your house. Are they African American,
Correct.
white, Hispanic? What is their nationality?
I don't know, because they started hitting on the door and I went back to the door and told them they better get the heck away from here. I didn't see them. I don't know.
Now,
just get somebody over here so they can try and track them down.
Do you have a firearm, sir?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yes, I do.
Well, please go lock that up and make sure that you do not have it in your possession. Okay.
No, because if they come back, I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to defend myself and my property. So no.
Well,
when I see the blue lights, then I'll take care of making sure that it's safe. Until then, no.
I'm going to send law enforcement out now because you have a firearm and you're not willing to lock that up, sir. So if you're willing to lock that up and answer the questions that I actually asked you, then I can send somebody.
911 it is. I don't understand you people. I just don't understand.
Well, there you have it. Hang up call on Woke 911 once again. I mean, I don't know how we're never going to get to answering the right calls if the persons aren't willing to give us the right information. Okay, now I do that as a joke, but the reality is, and thank you to my husband for calling the Woke 911 so that I can do those. But look at how ridiculous that sounds on a 911 call. Now, the reason it helps is because both my husband and I worked in EMS, and I was a law enforcement officer. He was a firefighter. So we understand what people how they would respond in those situations. So the reality is nobody wants what somebody that I guess I'm too loud. Preying on vulnerable children who don't know any better, get them away from the parents. That's what abusers do. Exactly. That's exactly what abusers do. Thank you for that comment. And because it actually shows on here, I can show it on the screen. But that is absolutely true. You know, we have people that are using this as a ploy and using this as a way to get into spaces and get children away from their parents. And because you can't call them out because of woke culture and cancel culture, they continue to get away with it. And I think that is the reason why it is time to pull the plug on woke culture and cancel culture. If you don't like something or you're offended by something, it's simple. You can just leave the room. Stop watching this show. Don't go to a comedy show. Don't go to any of that stuff. If you get so easily offended that it's going to affect you and how you act, don't go. Don't be a part of it. Stay away from it if that's your problem. But we have one last one to share with you real quick, and then we are done with our show. And let's just see what this one is real quick. Hold on one second.
High school teacher here in Christchurch. What are the best ways in which I can stand up against woke ideology without being cancelled? Only 35 people voted for that, but I think it was pretty popular by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
He does an awful lot of thinking before he answers, which I do like.
Yeah, by the time you find yourself in a situation like that, where that question becomes particularly germane, you probably already made 1,000 mistakes. So, one of the things I observed at the University of Toronto when I worked there is I could see this woke nonsense emerging over decades. I really started to see it when I was at McGill University in the 90s with the encroachment of ethics committees on the research enterprise. And I could just see it just doing this like this year after year. And I could see it when I was a graduate student. And I went to Harvard after I was at McGill, and it was pretty under control there in the 90s when I was there. The psychology department there the people there were pretty damn tough. And they were in charge, like the adults. And a lot of them really were adults.
I would like it if you would get to the answer of the question,
people
because
there.
he quite often
and then I went to the University of Toronto, and it wasn't
lot of stuff
the
about
same
himself
caliber
before he
as
gets to an answer of the problem. But
last 30
the
years in universities, just incrementally
has been, and it has gone over for way too many years. 20, 30 years is what this has gotten to.
University would say, well, you have these fourth-year seminars, they only have 15 people in them. We have a staff shortage, faculty shortage. Can you double the size of the seminar? And my response to that was, well, how about you hire some more faculty members and a few fewer people on the administrative side? How would that be for a solution? And then I tried to get data, and the data question was, how many administrators have you hired in the last 10 years compared to faculty members as the student population has grown? And I never did get that data from the University of Toronto, but we know it broadly.
And he does get to it eventually, but part of the problem is what they have been hiring are these woke individuals. It's the same reason why we have the problem with the military, we have the problem with our government, is because they got these people in that started implementing woke responses and woke hiring and DEI hiring, and they got into positions of authority, or they got into positions of hiring like HR. Those are part of the problems. How do you stop the problem? The question was, and I'll answer that question, stand up against it, and don't give your money to these organizations that follow these procedures. Money is where you speak. Bud Light learned a very hard lesson about being woke, and that is exactly what happened. Here's my phone.
You used to love the spotlight shining oh so bright. Tried to get the trend right, but it flopped overnight. Poured the message in the bottle, thought it'd make a splash, but now they're walking backwards, losing all their cash. Go!
That's where you have to hit them. You have to hit them in their pocketbooks. You have to hit them in their cash. Bud Light has walked it back, and they have acknowledged that they made a huge mistake, and they are pushing to rebrand and rebuild themselves to not lose any more money.
Go woke, go broke. That's the way it seems. Lost the plot somewhere chasing shiny dreams. Comedies at Ghost Town, no one left to tease. Let's bring the laughter back. Can we agree on these?
We absolutely need to bring the laughter back. We need to bring comedy back. We need to let people have the ability to tell a joke and laugh about it. We have things that point people out because of the fact that we are a we do have certain characteristics that you can joke about women, you can joke about wives, you can joke about husbands, you can joke about men. Those are for a reason.
Tried to be a hero, saving face on the ground. But the crowd.
Look at, I'm the hero because I'm virtue signaling. I'm pointing out everything everybody else is doing wrong.
But the crowd's gone silent. Now they've lost the jam. Cancel culture running wild, setting flames to jokes. We're tiptoeing on eggshells, afraid of silly pokes. Take a hint from the bottle. Here's the brutal case. You can't win love and laughs in the same old space.
That's right. You have to laugh in one place, and I'm not going to play the rest of the song. It's another, I don't know, another minute and a half or another minute, I think. But we can't do them both at the same place. You can show love and acceptance and embrace one another in one place, but comedy is a separate animal and it needs to be treated as a separate animal. If you're easily offended, just don't go and don't listen and don't be a part of a comedy show in the first place. Anyway, thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe and join my channel on Rumble at Gurl TauX, Gurl TauX, and that is our socials on everything, Gurl TauX. Hopefully Kimberly will be back in about a week or so, and I hope she continues to feel better, having a difficult time right now. So anyway, remember to like, follow, and subscribe. I'm on my way to 100 followers. Yeah, I love saying it that way because like everybody else is, I'm on my way to 1 million, I'm on my way to 100,000, whatever. I'm on my way to 100. So let's join in here. Come on, be part of the Gurl TauX tribe, our crew. We need to build a crew. So come on in if the water is warm. Just remember that we don't need woke culture and cancel culture to be the deciding factor in every part of our lives. Be your own self, think for yourself, speak for yourself. Thank you for being here. Please come again tomorrow. We'll be here again at 7. Hopefully it'll all be on time tomorrow and I don't have a problem again, but I will try not to. Have a good night. See you soon.
Thank you for watching Gurl TauX live broadcast, which airs weekdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget to send in your Dear Margaret questions. Then join us for our opinion-based answers.
Email to dearmarge@gurltaux.com.
Thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night.